public.
Okay, with JM Balbuena, Roll Up for Equity is the short film played at the Female Filmmakers Film Festival. Really interesting film. This is a San Diego story, correct?
It is. Yes, it is.
Are you born and raised in San Diego?
I am not. I've been here for almost 14 years, but I am a business owner here, homeowner here, and so I consider myself from San Diego. And I actually own a dispensary here in San Diego, so this issue with the social equity is near and dear to my heart.
All right, well, let's talk about so pitch people what is so you just talked about dispensary San Diego. So what's the 30-minute documentary about?
Right. So Roll Up for Equity is the story of advocates in San Diego looking to hold the city council accountable for implementing social equity in the cannabis space. And so what it is, social equity just means righting the wrongs of the war on drugs and cannabis prohibition, which, as many people know, there's been, people that have been disenfranchised given cannabis prohibition, whether it was for, let's say, us having a joint on you, that got you federal time in prison. And now that we have a legal industry where people have businesses, now these individuals want to partake in this space. And traditionally, San Diego's the second biggest city in California, and it's the only one that does not have a social equity program in cannabis that aims to give people that were affected by the war on drugs a chance at partaking in the business of cannabis. And so myself and a bunch of other cannabis activists and advocates have been going to city council meetings, have been working with them so they can implement the program correctly and all of that. And ultimately, the mayor of San Diego, after 3 years, actually almost 4 years of wanting to, exploring the idea and even working with the state, who actually granted $80,000 in a grant, or sorry, $800,000 grant for the program to be implemented, and the mayor decided to chop it from the budget, and so we're back to the drawing board.
And let's be honest here, a big city like San Diego, $800,000 in a budget is nothing. It's really nothing.
It's nothing, but it's a start, because what it does
No,
is,
what I mean though, for him to chop it though, like basically.
oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
but chop it and
Yeah.
give it back. So he is returning that grant money to the state because we're not using it, because he decided not to pursue.
That's what I'm saying. It's like it's nothing. It's not like there's a political, what's the holdup? Like what's the political ideology?
You know what? I'll be honest with you. The holdup is the current operators that are not social equity don't want more competition to come in into the space, more dispensaries to open.
Gotcha.
And so what happened is that they lawyered up. And so with that being said, allegedly had the ear of the mayor, and all of a sudden one day the mayor woke up and dismantled the whole process of implementing social
So he's
equity.
getting lobbied by these organizations to do this.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
And so he wants to get one would assume he wants to get reelected. So he thinks this is from a political standpoint, this is the best way to get reelected.
That, and then some of these organizations are donors.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So,
and
gotcha.
So that's the difference. Like these individuals that are these individuals that are advocating for the social power to back up a political campaign. They're just asking for, the program, which is an entitlement, given the history of this industry, how people have been disenfranchised, and people that mostly are, over 80% are Black and brown individuals. And so that just shows you the systemic issue. These people whose lives have been completely messed up because of a cannabis federal offense can even get they have issues with getting housing, they have issues with getting jobs, they have
Yeah.
issues with even traveling outside of the country because of a federal charge. And
They have a
so
record. They have a record that basically is null and void now. Like if the same thing happened to them now.
correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so they also want the stake in the space, in the legal cannabis space. And it's only as a cannabis advocate and somebody who has a dispensary here in San Diego without the social equity. I'm not a social equity candidate. I have not been impacted by the war on drugs, fortunately for me. But it's really hard. It's expensive. You know, you at least the permits alone and all of that is in the works of $30,000 at least.
Yeah.
To get through the application process. And so as an advocate, I tell you, it is not an option to implement social equity in cannabis. It is a must. You know, especially if you're going to be getting these $1 million worth of tax money, then I think there's space here to implement social equity and right the wrongs of the war on drugs.
So let's pretend that I'm on the let's play the devil's advocate for a second and be on the other side. What's their issue of like why are they lobbying? Why are they spending money to stop this? Like what's their point of view?
So the answer is simple. Competition. So they don't want more dispensaries to open, but the other part is that as a benefit to the social equity candidates, the city, when they were going for the implementation of the program, the zoning for cannabis operations is light industrial. So they're not in the centrally located areas. And so for the social equity candidates, they were going to open up the zoning in order to allow them to be in the more high traffic areas and things like that. And that's when, you know, it blew the can open. In that sense, that's when, you know, the lawyers started coming into these meetings and pretty much saying that it was unfair. But in my opinion, it's not unfair. What I think it's not unfair because these people did prison time.
Yeah.
And so, in my opinion, that is the benefit. You know, you are equalizing because social equity is not let's be equal, is equalizing the level playing field in order for these people who already, you know, are down here because the cannabis industry in the city of San Diego is 12 years old. And so these people already have a business established for 12 years, and these individuals will start at the bottom of the totem pole, with the exception that now they would have had that zoning advantage. And, you know, from a business standpoint, I'm a business woman. I think there was an opportunity for these current operators to work together with these new entrants. They pretty much did away with that. And so now we just got the advocacy work to do. I want to thank the Female Feedback Film Festival for recognizing, you know, the work that we did and putting the message out there. And even some other ones that have recognized the film. And the point is to get the message in bigger platforms so that we can have these conversations, because I think that is what's missing. We don't have any like media outside of San Diego pointing the finger like, why is this happening? Let's have this conversation. At least let's find a middle ground where, you know, we can do the social equity thing and also, you know, be fair, or be, you know, work with these current operators and their concerns. But doing away with the program, I think is doing a disservice to the industry, to the legal industry in San Diego. So I'm highly disappointed in Mayor Gloria.
But Gloria, I'm assuming Mayor Gloria is a liberal, right? Because you
basically... Right. This is a liberal town.
Yeah,
but
it's a liberal. It's
conservative.
Yeah.
It's liberal on paper, I would say, because living here for 14 years, I'll tell you, is extremely conservative despite the liberalism.
But so you have on your poster, if it's audio podcast, is video podcast, people could see your poster. It's it's an elephant, right? So the elephant,
the elephant in the room.
oh, the elephant in the room, but also symbolizes the Republican Party. I don't know if it was a double meaning, but I guess, but it's just the elephant in the room.
It was the double meaning of, are we Democratic or are we Republican?
Yeah.
That's one thing. And then like the elephant in the room, and that is the mayor next to the elephant. I'm symbolizing that, like, bro, what are you doing? You know, you were on track, and I'll be honest with you, San Diego was on track to creating the most, I would say, um, fair cannabis equity program, you know, just making it an actual benefit, not just handing you a license and say, go about your business. The majority of the programs around the nation don't yield as the success that people think it would because of that. In this industry, especially a federally controlled industry, it's really tough. I'm telling you, from a current operator standpoint, the taxation, you know, it's a lot. The laws are built like in silos. So let's say if you want to expand, it's really hard to expand as a business, especially as a small operator, and it's capital intensive. And so it's capital intensive, but you also don't have the banking systems that are in your favor, and all these different things and elements that go into operating. And so I think San Diego, with the proposal that was put in play that then was done away with, they were literally creating something that had a path that you could see it would create a successful path for these social equity candidates.
So I'm going to give people a quick background about your mayor. So Todd Gloria is your mayor, right?
Yes.
So he checks a lot of boxes. He checks a lot of boxes. Like, he's indigenous, he's Filipino, he's white, and he's also what's the other? I apologize. I basically wrote it down basically, but he checks a lot of, like, he's got a lot of Puerto Rican.
Yeah, he has a diverse background. He's LGBT. Like, this guy is the poster child for diversity and inclusion.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
you name it.
Yeah, exactly. So he's from San Diego. He went to University of San Diego.
Right.
He basically, like you said, he's very, on paper, like if anybody on the right would say that he's like a crazy liberal kind of, like, you know, like over the edge, even though he's not. I'm Canadian, so it's like the American's definition of liberal is like different from the rest of the world, but
right, I bet.
but according to the Republicans, he's on paper, he basically is the poster child. He's a guy on his way. Like he probably will run for Congress one day, or even governor of California, probably. Like he's politically savvy, and he's very ambitious, one would say, I guess.
Absolutely. And it's kind of sad because for 2025, the budget, he pretty much, well, San Diego is in a deficit in the budget by like $70 million. It's like, I'm seeing
everybody is, because
right. And he ran his campaign on equity and inclusion, and you name it. And then for 2025, he pretty much cut all the programs from the arts down to like cannabis and even other like community programs,
the quote unquote liberal kind of, like,
correct, which it, you know, it had the city up in arms, you know, just discussing, had some even city council members that were completely against some of the things that he was cutting. And there was a lot of friction in the past, I want to say 2 months, where I am telling you, I was in city council meetings weekly, just advocating, not just for cannabis, but for some of these social equity programs that had to do with the arts and a lot of the community initiatives. And so a lot of them, we were able to get them back in the budget, but cannabis was definitely not one of them.
Yeah, and like, but then from my point of view, he's moving to the center and meeting that, like, there's many ways, but usually when you're politically ambitious and you want to run for Congress or Senate or whatever, like you kind of run to the center a little bit. So it seems like what he's doing. I don't know the whole story, but
no, yeah, and that's, I see that's the move. Nonetheless, like, I just feel like we have to put the opposition. And
Yeah, no,
so
it's great.
that's why I wrote Look for Equity. To be honest with you, I wasn't even filming the documentary, but what I do is I do film a lot. And so
Yeah,
once I saw that we were up the program, we got the grant, we have all these advocates coming together with the mayor, coming together with the cannabis department here in the city of San Diego.
mhm,
And all of a sudden, one day, we just get this notification that he's removing the program from the cannabis department and sending it to diversity and inclusion. And everybody's so confused, like, what are they going to do?
yeah,
And then that happened like around December. And then later on in March, when there was no movement towards utilizing the grant that has a time expiration, which is November of this year, we're like, wait, the years going by and nothing's happening. And then boom, we find out that he decided that it's removing the cannabis social equity program in its entirety
all right, so
from
let's
this.
talk, I want to talk about the film itself for a second. So it says on Film Freeway, this was your first film that you made?
It's my first film that I published. Yeah, it's my first film.
Yeah, it's a nicely put together documentary. So then,
Thank
but
you.
obviously generally the documentarian comes from a kind of like a not unbiased, from a journalistic unbiased point of view.
Mhm.
I'm not saying you weren't, but this is an emotional film for you. Like you're almost the character in the film. So it's almost like, it's an interesting documentary because it's like you have interviews and it's not really told from your first person point of view, but it kind of is in a way, because once we know who you are, it's like this is an emotional film for you,
Yeah,
right?
as an advocate, yes,
Yeah,
absolutely. It's an emotional film. Like I said, I'm not a social equity candidate. I wouldn't qualify for that. But I am a cannabis entrepreneur and most importantly, a cannabis advocate.
yeah,
And so I'm doing my advocacy work and I see these people like putting all their effort. I'm learning their stories of, somebody that had edibles in their car and didn't even realize that they get
yeah,
pulled over. Next thing you know, they're doing federal time for some candy. And so there's another story in the film about a guy that, he had some pounds, I think it was 10 pounds of cannabis. And today, where he was arrested, there is a legal dispensary from one of those guys who is in opposition
yeah,
to and so once I'm listening to these stories, and all of a sudden the program is X'd, I said, you know what? I feel like if we're able to get what's happening here in a bigger platform where people can learn like why that it's needed, like social
yeah,
equity in cannabis is needed because of this unfair things that are happening. I decided I had already film. And then the most important part is that the campaign that we were doing called Roll Up for Equity was a postcard campaign where we went to different neighborhoods and got individuals to had a survey where people would say how they felt about cannabis,
yeah,
whether it's medical patients, veterans, and whether they wanted it in their neighborhoods. Because in San Diego, to give you some insight, where these dispensaries are located is not in the areas where most of the people that got in trouble for cannabis are.
gotcha.
So
Yeah,
they're in the high end areas where, people with money are, for
gotcha.
it.
Well, yeah, it makes sense to put them there. From a,
So I kind of wanted to tell that story
yeah,
in not from this is personal to me, as in these are my stories. No, just from me being the fly on the wall doing the advocacy work, now learning these stories from local San Diegans.
yeah,
And then being an operator from the other side of things, because
yeah,
I'm in the group where the opposition is at. If you really, but then again, I'm the only Black owned dispensary in San Diego as
yeah.
well. So, I just, I felt like the story needed to be told. And then I put it
And then there's a
together.
lot of states that are basically expunging people's records for
Right.
but then again, it's almost like the analogy of like laws change, right? And it was illegal then, so I mean people knew it, right? So
Right.
then they still did something illegal, but it's
Oh,
basically,
100%, 100%. I'm not defending anything. Nonetheless, if you look at the statistics,
yeah,
the rate of consumption is the same across all races. And then when over 80%,
yeah,
um, that it's actually doing federal time and going to jail looks a specific way, like, black and brown,
yeah,
then we understand that that was being used against people.
yeah.
Because uh, even the laws, as you mentioned, people that were getting caught with cocaine are doing less time than people that were
No,
fined with.
I know. And at the same time, it's like they're arresting the wrong people just because like, you know what I mean? They're
Correct.
not arresting the dealers, they're arresting the people who are, it's
Correct. There are
ridiculous, right?
people that are the consumption, which
Yeah,
is, that for that, it's a healthcare issue, not a
yeah,
criminal issue. And the
yeah,
people, like you said, that are actually funneling these substances into our neighborhoods, they're walking around, lawyered up
yeah.
and getting away with murder,
I'm not even talking about the corner guys.
Oh,
I'm
I
talking about the
know. You're talking
kingpins,
about the
right?
real,
Yeah.
the real
That's
deal, the
that's the thing.
suit,
It's like
essentially.
they just raise their stats because they want to raise their stats for drug crimes, and then but these are the people who are not. Yeah,
Correct.
it's all silly. It's just a bunch of silliness. But
100.
but
And
the
that's why
way
social equity is needed.
but the way you exactly 100%. But the way you kind of told the story is that I'm assuming you were looking for a happy ending. Were you looking for a happy ending? Because you didn't really know how the film. I'm sure when you started filming, you didn't know how it was going to end.
No,
I guess.
so like I said, I was filming just because I like to document what's going on.
Gotcha,
Not even to do the documentary.
gotcha.
Uh, but once I saw that the story was like, oh, it's gonna be a good program, it's gonna be, and then all of a sudden it's declining. It's like, what's happening here?
Yeah.
That's when I was like, you know what? I'm gonna tell these people stories. And then I brought it up to some of the people that were doing the advocacy work, and they were like, oh my gosh, that would be amazing. And
And then here we go. Did
but
you?
like you said, there is
But
right now the ending is in the air. Currently there is no social equity happening
but
in the city of San Diego. I should definitely say that for the county of San Diego,
yeah,
they started social equity initiatives, which I'm very proud of that, because they had an even more the county and that's another thing. The county of San Diego and the city of San Diego have two different ordinances
yeah,
that different programs for cannabis. And so the county had an even more restrictive, they only allowed 4 licenses in the entire county.
yeah,
And that's why I have one of those. And so with that, they even had a sunset clause where we would have had to started businesses in 2016 and end
mhm,
business in 2022. But we took them to court and we were able to keep that going. And so now they are creating a social equity program and moving forward with it. So, it's not all bad, but the city of San Diego, which has the most liberal mayor of all time, and by
yeah.
liberal, I mean, like we discussed earlier on paper, and he decided to do away with it and everything. So,
So okay, so then, but from a filmmaking standpoint, because you interviewed people, it's interesting because it's like you're doing a lot of court, like government court scenes where the buildings are so boring, right? They're very brown and like there's no color and it's like it's
no,
very
and it's cold
dry.
as hell too.
Yeah,
They're
and
freezing your butt.
it's like from a cinematic standpoint, it's you gotta like you can't stay too long because it's like
Right,
it's snooze fest, right? In terms of just the aesthetic, right? Like it's just that's I think that they do it on purpose, right? So like
right.
that. But basically, but you got the interview, you got nice interviews. It's like you interviewed all these people. Did you edit the film yourself or
I edit the timeline, and then I had my editor that I worked with,
gotcha?
Mar Levi. He did an amazing job with the putting it together nicely. So I was a co-editor in it.
And you got some key interviews like kind of like showcasing the kind of points of view of thing. Yeah, so it's a nice 30-minute documentary. And I don't
Thank
know,
you.
I'm sure you thought of this, but if things evolve, if things change, you can basically tell you can
Right.
even go
Keep going.
forward with it, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I hope so. I think it's only I don't think it's over. I do think that we will be able to continue to tell the story, because historically, when you look at all the other social equity programs, they had to go through things like that.
Yeah.
So I'm hopeful, and I think it's not over.
So, and then when's he up for reelection?
At coming up.
Yeah, it's coming up, right? So got some big elections coming up in the States, right? Including this
Yes,
one.
we'll see what
But it
happens.
looks like he's set he's gonna get reelected though, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I don't think there's many other candidates that people actually know. But
Yeah.
I do think that where we can make the change is the city council members, because he
Yeah.
has worked with them. And so if we get some city council members that are more prone,
Yeah.
um, to lean towards the community side,
Mhm.
I feel like we can make a difference there.
Well, I've been to San Diego once, and it's like I almost didn't want to leave because it was so beautiful, and it's
Yes.
just I think people have said that before, like, and it's just a nice, beautiful. I don't know, like maybe hopefully I'm sure it still is, but your population keeps increasing year by
It
year.
does, because people like me, I came here with the military.
Yeah.
I was
Oh yeah,
like, this is
like yeah,
the
the
most
milk. Yeah.
the most beautiful place in the world. I came from Jersey at
Yeah.
the East Coast, and once I was done with my term with the military, I couldn't leave. So here
Yeah.
I am.
Here
Here
you
I am.
are. Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of vets in the state in
Oh
your
yeah,
yeah.
it's definitely a military town. We have, I believe, it's 12 bases here, and then the veteran population is huge as well.
And then it's a border city too, correct?
In
As well.
Mexico, correct. So
Yeah.
we have Mexico right down. We got mountains, we got the beaches, we have, just beautiful hiking trails everywhere. And just a community. Here, you know, yesterday I had my niece. I'm trying to get more of my family to come from the East Coast. I gave her, I was able to get her a tour of San Diego State University, which again, also a beautiful
Yeah.
facility. Um, and so there's everything, a little bit of everything. You have LA 2.5 hours away if you want, big city like stuff, because San Diego's a beach town.
Yeah.
It's laid back, and there's a lot of things to do here.
Well, I wish you the best of success with the film, and like I said, it's engaging. Last question: what did you think about the audience? We send you the audience to you. What did you think what the audience
I
had to say?
loved it. I loved it. That was awesome. That's one of my favorite parts about, the the female feedback film fest, that we are able to hear back from the people that actually look at the film, and that was amazing. Especially, like, there was one in particular, one lady that from the reviewers, that said that she was not aware of, like, that these things happen in the industry, or had no knowledge of the
Yeah.
industry, and she wouldn't have known if she hadn't watched the film.
Yeah.
And the fact that, some of the things that she said, she understood the message. So as a filmmaker, it just made my little heart skip a beat, especially because I said, oh my gosh, that was the purpose. She got it. And so it made me really happy. So thank you so much for that.
Well, thank you, and good luck with your business. And I have one request for you: just keep making movies. Or one
I will.
suggestion, I should
Thank
say.
you. It's my passion. And
Yeah.
thank you so much. And you guys keep supporting filmmakers, because it just motivates us to
100%.
keep
Well,
going.
let's talk again when you make your next film.
Roger that.